EV market really cooling off here in North America. We have so much on the docket today. And in fact, we have so much to talk about that I'm thinking about making this a weekly session. So every Sunday morning, a little checkup on the EV industry here in North America, as well as around the world, because they're all intertwined, right? All the markets are. So we'll talk about EV sales falling in California. Tesla's piece of the pie is getting smaller. We're going to talk about how bad EVs are for the environment. We'll talk about GM going back to hybrids because their EV plan is not succeeding, right? EVs for all, or an EV for everyone was their slogan. Dealers are also fed up with Biden's EV rollout and guidelines, as well as forcing certain things at certain times. We'll talk about that and how dealers are pissed off about it. Volvo is done with Polestar. They're letting them be 100% funded by Geely, and that's a smart choice because Polestar shrinking, man. They cannot keep up with the fast changing sands of the EV market. We'll talk about Vinfast a little bit and talk about at the end EV range and how it's changing. So if you guys are excited for today's news gauntlet, smash the like button and make sure you subscribed. And if you want to see this every single Sunday, let me know down in the comments. And also, I'm putting down below a link to the Discord so you guys can talk about anything you want with other members of this community. So all you car freaks out there, if you like to just have a chat room of like-minded people specifically focused on this channel and the topics I bring up here, I'll put that link down below. It used to be exclusive to members, paying members. They said, hey, let's open it up so we can get a little bit more of a vibrant living community out there on the Discord. So you want to thank them, the paying members, for this as well. So, all right, let's start it off. EV sales are starting to fall in California. They say an industry bellwether. That means this is the gold standard market for EVs. This is supposed to be where they're taking off, and it should be a shining light for the rest of the non-evolved states in order to have EVs prosper and succeed, to make sure our world is a healthier place with better air, etc. So in consecutive quarters, we have falling EV sales, and this could really screw up the state's aspirations of being fully battery electric. I think it's around 2030, but they have, here we go. California regulators set a 2035 deadline for all new car registrations to consist of zero-emission vehicles. That will also consist of fuel cells, which they still sell fuel cells there, but not very many. So EV sales have now fallen 2 consecutive quarters in the state. So California registered about 90,000 electric EVs in the fourth quarter, a 10% decline from the 101,000 in the third quarter. That is a sharp decline there. Now, the third quarter of 2022, they sold about 103,000. So there's not really a dip too much quarter over quarter, year over year there, but it is significant and it is real. But this 10% decline is massive. Has a drop off in demand been a result of the early adopters getting the EV they already want? It makes me wonder. EV still accounted for over 21% of auto sales last year. Plug-in hybrids are only 3.4% of sales. But here's the thing. If plug-in hybrids were incentivized correctly, that might help. But if, more importantly, there's just not enough volume on plug-in hybrids. Honda doesn't have one. Honda has some of the best hybrids on the market. They don't even have a plug-in hybrid. Toyota's plug-in hybrid volume is a joke with their plug-in Prius Prime and RAV4 Prime. Arguably two of their best vehicles in their lineup. Objectively, the prices are quite high. There's just not enough to go around. Hyundai's plug-in hybrids are just too expensive, in my opinion. They don't actually offer any performance gain because of the added weight. You get a little bit more horsepower. So I'm driving the CX-90 plug-in hybrid this week. It's a really good plug-in hybrid. There's just not that many plug-in hybrids on the market compared to EV volume, especially Tesla EV volume is absolutely huge, right? So this, I think, will go up in the long term, and this will go up as well. EVs accounting for more and more volume in California, in theory, right? But we've had 2 quarters in a row where that sales volume has lessened. The uptake of cars with a plug, including plug-in hybrids, is 3 times the national average. National average is somewhere around 6 to 7%. Valdez Streety says she expects uneven EV growth, and she says there'll be more products, more incentives, more price cuts. But as consumers start to see more reliable charging infrastructure and franchise dealers get more EV sales training, we will see growth. You're going to rely on a more reliable charging infrastructure. It seems it's getting worse because the EV charging infrastructure is not keeping up with the amount of volume of EVs ramping up. In the United States, at least, in the cold states too, that EV infrastructure is not as good as where it should be. Not even close. Brian Mass says California's 2035 EV mandate is questionable. Sales trend is slowing down and needs to get up to 100%. And there's a lot of ground to cover in just 11 years. Tesla sales grew 25% in 2023 over 2022. Its fourth quarter registrations fell by 10% from the same period a year earlier. But we're going to keep moving because there's so much to talk about today. Still automotive news, Tesla EV shares fall in booming California market as rivals make gains. While they still have the majority of the market here, so let's be real. 2023, Tesla had 60.5% of the market, and 2022 is 71%. Their sales still increased 25%. So there's just more volume from competitors. There's also more volume from Tesla being snapped up. So this is to me not that big of a deal, so we're going to keep moving. This is a big deal, and this is something I've been saying for a long time, is that refining and mining these metals for batteries and electric motors is extremely dangerous, and it's extremely harmful to the planet. All that the EV manufacturers talk about, all that the governments talk about is CO2. Like, CO2 is the only enemy out there, but look at what we're doing to planet Earth to get these batteries, all right? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to have one metric be the gold standard of what's good for our planet. They don't want you to imagine a truck the size of a house or apartment building essentially moving tons of toxic materials, and then they have to be refined, which creates even more toxic waste. So anyways, we're going to get into this. I'm not the expert on it, but Tokyo University's Toru Okabe absolutely is. So let's see what he has to say about the environment right now in the EV landscape and how it pertains to the mining end of it and the procurement of these materials. He says EVs are supposed to be environmentally friendly, but they are causing environmental problems. And that is a reality that is probably difficult for companies to say if they are even aware of it. He's a professor and director of the University of Tokyo's Institute of Industrial Science. All right, so they have a little Q&A with this gentleman right here. The question is, what are your views of the sharp rise in demand for rare metals from the EV industry? He says the spread of EVs is good since they do not emit CO2. Well, I almost want to hold the phone on there because they absolutely do emit CO2. You guys know I have a soft spot for Volvo. Back in 2021, they came out with a carbon footprint report. And here's the graph that they have to show with their ICE model versus their EVs. And the production of EVs, look how much CO2 emissions they create, not toxic materials and additional materials. I did the calculations. It's about a 22 increase in weight over an ICE car if you have a BEV. And so you need significantly more material stripped out of the earth to be put in an EV. So yeah, this is just CO2, but they also don't have graphs showing the amount of minerals and toxic waste going on. So that's a different topic we're going to get back to in a little bit. But check this out. Use face emissions. So that's charging the EV or refilling your car. Yeah, the ICE petrol version is worse for the environment, just if you're looking at CO2. But what's interesting is when that ICE vehicle becomes worse for the environment. So if you look at this graph here, it can take, in some instances, depending on how clean your power is, it can take up to 110,000 kilometers for an EV to be better for the environment with CO2. Now, if you have renewable energy, it's only about 50,000 kilometers, but that's best case scenario. So with that being said, there's tons of CO2 emissions in the production of EVs, the mining of the batteries, and in most cases around the world, there is going to be some dirty energy in there producing emissions as well to fuel those EVs, to recharge them, right? He says the EV batteries and motors contain large quantities of rare metals. The process of mining the ores from underground and extracting useful metal produces vast amounts of harmful material. Japan imports only clean product from which harmful substances have removed, but we need to recognize the environmental risks upstream. Where are they getting these clean materials upstream? They're getting them from China. They're getting them from Indonesia, more than likely. Those are the two biggest hotspots for refining these battery quality materials, as well as electric motor permanent magnet rare earth metal materials as well, which generate hundreds of times as much waste just to make one vehicle. He's comparing that to a non-electric car, just an ICE car. You generate hundreds of times as much waste just to make one vehicle. Okay, but they want to sweep it under the rug, saying the only thing that matters is CO2. Far, far more dirty than you guys could ever imagine. I'll put this article down below if you want to keep reading, because I only covered just the highlights, in my opinion. But automotive news, General Motors knows their EVs, well, their Blazer EVs, not on sale because of the awful software that has bricked cars. It made it unusable. It doesn't charge. GM will bring plug-in hybrids back to North American strategic shift. So I've met a lot of Volt owners, Volt, not Bolt, Volt owners, this car right here, that swear by this car. Now, it's not, I don't think it's quite as reliable as a Prius, but it's hit or miss, right? But the people who have had it be reliable for them swear by it. And it's absolute genius technology when it's working correctly, the Volt. You know, it's a plug-in. It's more of a series hybrid compared to the Prius, which is a series or parallel hybrid. Toyota's architecture is a little bit more flexible. But the Volt was very much kind of like the current Prius Prime. Mary Barra said on Tuesday that hybrids would play a role in helping GM meet tightening emission standards. And she did not disclose which segments GM will target with plug-in technology or when. So this could be a long ways off still, several years potentially. Now, if you take out their heavy-duty pickup trucks, it sounds like GM, like the state of California, wants to be fully battery electric with no tailpipe emissions. But that's not even what the dealers want. And the dealers want what the customers want. And the dealers are clamoring for hybrids to go back into the lineup. Here she is with the president, and 83% of dealers say the government is pushing the industry to move too fast on EVs. This one's very fascinating. I could have made a whole video on just this. Our EVs at the dealership generating a lot of customer interest. 55% customers are not interested in buying. 32% are interested, but they're not buying. That's over 80% is saying that, hey, I don't want an EV. Okay, only 13% are interested in buying. 62% said the current administration is bad for their business. 16% say it has no effect. 14% are unsure, and only 8% is positive. Only 8% of dealers favor the decisions made by the current administration. Very interesting. And is the current administration pushing the industry to move too fast on EVs? 83% say yes. An additional 9% saying, maybe, could be, we're not quite sure. Only 8% say no, right? Holy cow. What a disconnect. What a disconnect. So I'll leave this in description as well for you guys to read through these graphs. It's very interesting. Volvo is pulling the plug on Geely or Geely. It might struggle with the pronunciation of the Chinese owner of Volvo and Polestar and Lotus. Volvo is no longer funding Polestar. And as a result, their shares jumped big, I think double digits, after they're cutting the cancer that is dragging down the Volvo company. Oh, here we go. Now, actually, their stocks went up 30% when the market opened once people found out that Polestar is no longer going to be dragging down Volvo. Geely is going to be the only owner and funder of Polestar's business at this point. Polestar didn't have a good end of 2023. They reduced their targets throughout the year, and they still didn't even hit the reduced sales targets. It's a complete mess. Polestar shares are down over 83% since it went public in June 2022. After the shares went up 32%, they stabilized around 20% up. This is on top of Polestar saying it's planning to cut 450 jobs around the world, which is 15% of its workforce amid challenging market conditions. They had plans to outsell Porsche or come close to Porsche sales, an upstart that no one knows anyone about that has a funny name, Polestar, when you hear that in America, it sounds like a stripper name to me. Sorry if the kids are watching. That's what it sounds like to me. Polaris is the actual North Star, but there's already a brand in America that has the Polaris name. So they can't use it. So they just called it Polestar, which is, it did not translate well to America, So anyways, that's just my 2 cents on the brand's naming. It's worse. I think it's a worse name than Afeela from Honda and Sony. So let me know down below, do you think Afeela with Sony and Honda Mobility is a worse car brand name than Polestar? I mean, it also sounds like porn star. That's what when I talk about it, she's like, wait, what did you say? Because she thinks I'm saying porn star instead of Polestar. And when I hear Polestar, I think of a star on the strip pole. So anyways, that was a little bit of mature talk there. Try to keep that out of the discussion as much as possible. And let's get back into the last couple articles here. So over at Jalopnik, VinFast has accepted its fate, offers cheapest lease in America. Long story short, you can get a lease at a certain deal. Yes, they sell them at certain dealers now, VinFast, for about $300 a month. So it's the cheapest lease, not only in America, potentially, it's on a $50,000 EV. These things aren't worth $50,000. It's a no-name startup brand from Vietnam. Who's going to drop $50,000? So they're having to lease them, incentivize the crap out of them just to get them into people's hands. And based off of a lot of car journalists out there that have driven this car, they deem it unsafe. Now, I haven't driven, I can't say for myself, but there's plenty of articles out there saying do not spend any money on VinFast at all because these cars aren't finished yet. On the other side of the river, some people are saying, hey, remember when Hyundai came into the country, they were trash? Yeah, well, look where they're at now. I don't think VinFast has the luxury of being able to wait out the market that long. The EV market's not exactly thriving right now in North America. I know that they have obviously in their home market in Vietnam, they're doing, I think, fairly well. I don't think VinFast, here's my projection, I don't think VinFast is going to make it as a car company in the next few years. I think they're going to go bankrupt. It all depends on how much Vingroup, how much money they want to pour into a money-losing company. Polestar, right, which is a far more desirable EV brand, they're not doing well. Tesla's not doing that well. Their shares diminishing in California. Their sales have actually gone down, right, in the fourth quarter in California, 10% versus the fourth quarter last year. I mean, if you're buying an EV, why would you pick this over a Tesla unless you can get a crazy good deal? But even then, it needs to be like a third of the price of the Tesla because I would trust a Tesla any day over the week over a VinFast vehicle. All right. Range is going up with EVs. This is good. This is one of the barriers for many people, as well as cost, as well as charging infrastructure, as well as charging times, as well as cold weather capacity of the batteries too. But anyways, we need range to go up and to grow. And the average range now is 270 miles. Let me know if you have an EV, is that range fine for your needs? I think currently it's perfectly fine, assuming you can charge at home and you can recharge regularly. Some people can charge at work for free, and that's like best case scenario. That's free fuel. If you have to take long road trips regularly outside of town, this is where the miles need to like significantly go up until the EV infrastructure is better and until we also have way faster charging batteries. So this is just one of the pieces of the puzzle that needs to go up. Let me know down below how many miles you think you would need for you to get into an EV. I think they're best right now if you have a 1-2 punch, if you have an EV for in and around town, and if you have a hybrid or ICE vehicle for longer trips. I'm going to end it there. So much to talk about. And if you guys enjoy this sort of EV wrap up, the news revolving around the industry on a weekly basis, all packaged up as best as I can do it before the sun rises on a Sunday morning so I can get it to your doorstep when you guys wake up on sometime on Sunday morning. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you like it, like I said, let me know down below. Subscribe for more. Hit the like button if you made it this far. I would appreciate that. And join the Discord. I need to put that link down and below for you guys to click it and enter into the community over on Discord as well. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you in the comments. It's going to be fun as always. Have a good day and peace.